I want to start my story from a personal side. I grew up in a community where I see my mother in the evening. She comes home from the farm. She boils water, dilute it, take it to the washroom because the washroom is a bit far away from the house. She will stand there and wait for my father to come and wash. And she'll be standing there, see my father wash. My father leave the washroom and get back to the house. And she will collect the bucket and take it back into the house. I grew up in a community where I see young girls at the age of 12 pregnated by elderly men. I grew up in a community where I saw little girls pregnated by young people, by elderly men. I grew up in a community where men were beating their wives. But as a child, we see all of that as normal things in society. Growing up, I saw all of those things. And after schooling, after going through education, I begin to wonder, what is happening? Attending workshops, I begin to wonder, these things are not right. How do we change them? And that's the time the journalism in me started boiling. And I started writing. But let me come to the aspect of women accessing justice in Sierra Leone, how it is impacting on our women folks. In the first place, we have the family support unit that was established after the war. These are units established in the police stations. In Sierra Leone, a population of 7 million people, we only have 82 family support units. And most of these units are in the capital city. So women in rural communities hardly have access to this unit if they are raped, if they are penetrated, if they are abused, if they are beaten by their husband. Because as a woman, if you are penetrated, or as a young girl, if that young girl is penetrated in a community where she has to travel 5 or 6 miles or 10 miles to access a family support unit, and that woman is coming from a poor home, she has no money for transport, and the family is not even willing to support her, accessing justice for that particular woman or little girl will be difficult. But also coming to the fact that even if that girl or that woman is able to reach a family support unit that is some 5 miles or 10 miles away, and she has reported that particular case, the police will tell you, we have no logistics to effect arrest. We have no logistics to go to that community. But then, let us also assume that if that woman, if she's able to report a case and the police come in and investigate, and that case is charged to court, it is also difficult for that woman because the courts are not located in the community. The courts are located far away from the community. So the woman will have to travel miles away to attend court sittings. And court sittings are not done regularly. Sometimes a woman will go to court and there's no court hearing and she has to return back home empty-handed. And looking at the poverty situation of our women folks, if they go to court 1, 2, 3, and 4 times without any hearing, they will come back and sit down and wait for the Lord to answer their prayers or whatever they feel like. But even the court system in our country, such court systems are done in English. And a poor woman coming from the rural area who has never gone to school will be sitting in that courtroom. The lawyers, the judges, the magistrate, they will be speaking English. She understands nothing. And also, the court settings are done in an open. Remember, as a woman, I've been raped and I've gone to court. And they expect me to testify in open. Everybody is seeing me that I've been raped. It's an intimidation for that woman. And these are the limitations women are facing back home in Sierra Leone. But also, let's assume that it's the uncle that has penetrated that little girl. And she's going to court. For any woman that will be going to report the uncle or the husband is considered a bad woman. And so the cultural limitation is one aspect. So all of these things whilst I was growing up as a little boy, and after schooling, I saw them that they are wrong. But how do we change them? And this is the journalism in me today. It's not just about writing an essay when I was in school, writing an essay about them, but let community know and let authorities understand that these things are wrong. Because in communities, especially in Africa, wife beating, pregnating women, pregnating young girls at 12, we see them as normal things. But they are not normal. And also, people need to understand that these things are not normal and they must change. And the only way they need to change is when we as journalists write about them. It's when we as journalists talk on them on the radio station. When we as journalists do documentary stories. Because for a young girl that has been pregnated, meaning her school has been destroyed, her future has been destroyed, there is currently a case of a 5-year-old girl that was penetrated. And today, she's unable to walk. She's still in the hospital. Meaning, that little girl, her future has been destroyed. I'm coming from a family, my mother never went to school, my father never went to school. I'm the only one among the 4 children that went to school. Meaning, if I've gone to school and I've school and I'm now working, I'll be able to take care of my father that never went to school because she's unable to care for herself. So if we allow the young girls to go to school and become the future for their families, they will be able to take care of their old mothers and fathers when they are old. So if you penetrate a young girl and destroy that young girl, meaning you have destroyed the future of a family, meaning you have destroyed the life of a bright little girl. So journalism explains all of that so that society understands, so that people in authority know what they are doing. In Sierra Leone, rape is a crime punishable by law. Sexual penetration is a crime punishable by law. But think of the poverty situation. Think about the limited number of family support units in the country. Yes, the government has pronounced rape as an emergency, but emergency lasts for just 3 months. What we are now pushing for is for that pronouncement to become law. We have the Sexual Offences Act, and the maximum sentence in that law is 14 years. Minimum is 7 years. But if the president has pronounced, the new government has pronounced rape and sexual penetration, that anybody convicted should go for life imprisonment, it should be included in the law. And that will stop people or reduce the incidence of rape and sexual penetration. The figures keep going up because much is not done. In Sierra Leone, and worse of it, there are no forensic lab in Sierra Leone. So specimens are taken to Ghana. And some of the specimens, according to rape, it lasts for 72 hours. So all of those are limitations for young girls. But as a media practitioner, these are the things we are pushing for so that society take action. And I say, for any man with a conscience that penetrates a young girl at the age of 5 or even 12 years, for me, I describe it as a witchcraft. For any man, or any man in his right sense, that penetrates a young girl, that man is not a normal person. And for us as journalists, for us as society, if we want the world to be a better place for our girls, for our women, then we need to allow them to realize their full potential to make the world a better place. I thank you.